All right. Thank you. So at 3:36, we're resuming the back to the public section of the meeting. We will now adopt the long-term plan and striker rates resolution. So with that, first off is the long-term plan adoption, and the strategy and communications advisors to speak to this item. Emma, you there? Right. Welcome, Emma. Floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Councillors. I'm very pleased to present the draft version, the final draft version of the long-term plan for 2025 to 2034 for adoption. I'd like to ask through the Chair if there are any questions on the plan. I can answer anything that's non-financial, and I'd hand over to Leslie for financial.
Questions, please. Paul.
The charges for the home ticket incentive. I was trying to ask this before when Marcus was here, but it must have been 3 years ago when the last LTP, and we had the protest over the fee charged for the gallery. It was too much, and it was discouraging local artists and etc. from exhibiting. What I see in here is still $1,000 a week. Does it sound like that's been changed, which is what we have? Venue hire, this is on page 39. Venue hire, carnegie gallery hire per week, $1,000. We wanted a far more reasonable rate to encourage local exhibitions.
Yeah, we did.
Emma, do you have any background on that?
Sorry, I'm just trying to find the page.
The Carnegie Gallery hire.
Yeah, I'm afraid that I don't have a lot of background on that charge.
There was no resolution to change it though, was there?
Yes. So that is a question that Marcus would be best to answer. I can have a quick look and see if I can find any further information from when the change was first suggested to me.
Through your worship, I believe we did resolve to reduce that substantially because there were a number of groups that and individuals that presented to us on this, and this is how we responded.
Just seeing if Marcus is available.
Here he comes.
He's just coming down now.
Sorry. The
Venue hire.
I actually believe, I think that is an error. That should say 100. It looks like an extra 0 has inadvertently been added.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, that shouldn't be.
Okay. That's easy.
It should be, yes.
We're saving you small points in your route, please.
So if you remove any resolution, can you resolve to amend that?
Okay.
As part of the adoption.
One other thing for me, and while we're on the charges and fees, is the Muslim burials at cost. Why is it at cost to bury a Muslim as opposed to $2,062 for everyone else?
because their burial ceremonies and the way that they prepare the site for burial is not as per Christian burials. So they're actually wider, they do steps in the bottom for where the deceased in. It's quite a process, so they pay all upfront costs.
So when it says at cost, that would be
what it costs to do.
for the sexton to do it, or they do it themselves?
They can do it themselves, but any
Can we do it ourselves? Serious question.
No.
If they can do it themselves, can we do it ourselves?
not really.
No. So therefore, they shouldn't be able to do it themselves. It should be a fixed cost, it shouldn't it?
No, because we don't know exactly what the ceremony is, how long it's going to take. We haven't even buried anyone up there yet, so we have to have a basis to work that.
I understand. I mean, which gets back to the fact that we got it was just ridiculous in the first place. Nothing against the Muslim community, but it was a stupid decision from the council, where that there is a Muslim cemetery in Christchurch, is what we were told at the time. That was the nearest. And for some reason, Hokitika needed to have its own. Hello. Anyway, I think it should be even playing field, and if they can dig their own graves, we should be able to dig our own graves to have a cut rate. If they're not allowed to dig their own, if we're not allowed to dig our own graves, then they should also be charged at a rate. So not just at cost.
Do you want to clarify for me, the reasons I had about Muslim burials, really? What we're saying here is that surely they can't just go in and do that. There's a certain amount of preparation we have to do.
Yes.
What you're saying is there's some additional things that are required due to their faith that they need on that site.
That is correct.
If you like, a Christian burial does not necessarily need. So the fee reflecting the new grave, etc., is what, if you like, a base cost. And then on top of that, if there needs to be steps or it needs to be wider, there's an assessment made of that.
That is correct.
I think there's quite a difference between the government. I don't believe they go in and do their own graves. Just reality. So at cost, I'm assuming, and maybe it's a definition thing, what we're saying is that the bare minimum would have to be the new grave cost, because that's what everyone has to pay, correct?
Yes.
And then any additional, then perhaps it's definition that any additional costs incurred for a Muslim burial due to that would be in addition to a base cost.
Yes.
Yes, I think it's a definition.
If they're wider, then, if I had a double plot, for instance, I'd be paying for 2 plots.
Yes.
So if they require a double plot, then they should be paying. That should be the minimum. It should be the double plot.
So it's probably more wording that should perhaps be, base cost of $2,062 plus any additional cost or incurred.
Yes, it shouldn't be related just to Muslims.
It would be base cost and for new grave, because you may change whatever happens over a period of time, and then any additional cost. The issue will then become just who then assesses what the additional costs will be due to what. But I don't want to get it. There's a wording thing, I think, if that's what you're saying, for clarity.
But pagans and Christians is $2,062. So it is. That's your starting point.
That's what we're saying, base cost for a new grave of $2,062 plus any additional costs incurred. So it's a plus,
And
but it's not worded that way, but no.
Well, that would be, as long as it's clear also that if the $2,062 is for a normal size.
A new grave.
A new grave.
Or a normal size burial plot.
Yeah.
In terms of maintenance and perpetuity.
The same as for anybody.
Yes, but if, sorry, not being clear, but if, it's still saying that the Muslim bearers sometimes use greater area, then they pay you greater.
Right. And that would be assessed. But you have a base, which is your new grave size, whatever that is.
And that's.
And then on top
It would need to be more specific, doesn't it? It needs to
Yes, I
say-
agree, the wording should be a little bit clearer,
Yes,
so that
it needs to
everyone's
say
clear.
that it's the base cost for Muslim burials as well is going to be the new grave cost of, which is for an average, well, not average size, a set standard size grave. Is that 2062? If it's greater than that, then they pay for two new grave plots.
Yep.
Plus whatever
Plus
goes on
additional
top of
costs
that.
incurred.
Yes.
So do we just simply need to tidy the wording up of that? Yes, it is.
Yes, through the chair, yes, we can do, but it also has to be recognised that they maintain the plots themselves. Council does not
Do
maintain.
they? So where we've got new grave includes plot interment and maintenance in perpetuity, that does not apply to them. Okay.
Well, through your worship, I mean, where's the fairness of that?
Well, they're paying for the cost of maintenance themselves.
Well, I would like to maintain my family's graves by myself, and therefore shouldn't have to pay in perpetuity for maintenance. It just doesn't seem fair.
It's a richer.
Well, the whole thing was foolish in the first place, in my view.
So if they're still paying the base rate of 2,062, but they're not maintaining it, they're maintaining it themselves, they're the ones that are actually potentially missing out, because they're paying a fee for something that they're not requiring.
Through the chair, and this may be, I'm sorry, I don't want to make it sound like a pick and mix, but do we have definitions for each for a grave size cost? In terms of, do we have the breakdown so that you could actually just say, this is what's attributed to these, and then everybody's fair, right? If you do it that way, so it's more about giving a breakdown and then saying, for a new grave, you would normally pay, just for saying, a plot, interment and maintenance and perpetuity, that would cost you 2,062. Now, for some reason, I don't want to do my maintenance I don't do my maintenance of my grave. So then I would come back to councillor's back. I would like plot and the interment. I will not be paying the maintenance, which is X dollars for perpetuity, because you must have a formula for it. And you take that off your one, because it's going to make it quite complicated.
And the grave and in the area isn't maintained.
Yeah, what happens?
Yes. So I think it'd be better if that's the cost for everyone.
To speak through the chair, I agree, because yes, there is the potential that they may not maintain it, and the reason that it's on a standard grade is because once they go over 2 generations, no one ever maintains it.
Yes, you've got to leave it in there.
Next minute, you've got an unkempt.
Yep.
Which is not what we want.
Fenced off area that looks terrible even as it is now.
Right, so just go back to the wording, because that's really what we need to tidy up, isn't it? Just the wording on it. Yep. So do we need to do that here? Because we've already got the amendment to the venue hire. Yeah, complete. Okay, so we're leaving the new grave as it is? The writing there? Is that what we're amending? No?
I thought the amendment
Was on the Muslim burials?
for clarity for
Yes.
because air cost is difficult.
Yep, so we're leaving the base cost for a new grave of $2,062 plus additional costs incurred.
Can I suggest that we don't put the price of the base cost in, because it's clear,
It's clear up there, okay.
And if anything changes, then you have to change
Yep,
everything else back.
yep.
Where if it's just new grave, it's whatever it is, right?
Yep.
But it's for a single grave. It's,
For
and
new,
if it's for greater than a single grave, it's twice that. And
Well, it's proportional, isn't it?
so the base cost for new
You
grave
don't know
plus
it's going to be 2, that might just be a
additional
little
costs
something.
incurred.
well, I can't have a plot and a half. It's either 1 or it's 2. No, fairness is fairness, and if we go to be as ridiculous as having a separate burial ground, then it needs to be an even playing field.
Well,
Not ridiculous.
when you're talking about fairness, then you can go down to interring a child under 12 or more area, it's the same price. Now, the child might be 5 years old, and it's not going to have the same size burial site as an adult.
But
So-
size remains the same.
Yeah. So that this is the thing.
So it's still
Can I just ask Bill, could you just comment this in terms of who actually determines this? So we put these in, and then for whatever happens, somebody comes and they want to intern someone into their cemetery. And they say, well, we want to have a Muslim burial, and it's going to look like this, it's going to look like a dead so and then a bit side grade and these other bits. Who does the assessment on what
We have a standard burial plot type and style from Christchurch. Where they have one, so we got their supplementary burial information.
So it's not just, finger in the wind thing, it's actually,
There's a proper design that they have to come with. We haven't buried anyone up there yet, which is why it makes it a little bit difficult just to see how much time is left.
But I think Paul's point is if you're going to do it, you guys will get to the iron out all of the bits that are going to cause us a problem, because it's probably easier now than it will be when we have people doing the actual request. That's all.
Right, so we've got that amendment recorded down. There is another issue on page 44, under subdivision deposit, subdivisions 2 to 5 lots, it's got 1,3400. So either we've got an extra 0 in there or the comma's in the wrong place.
Yes, that is correct. There is a 0 that had gone missing from above, appears to have ended up down there. So yes, that is a correction. I apologise for that.
So it should be $1,340.
It should be, yes.
So that's another amendment.
That's 2 extra zeros.
So amendment 3 is on page 44. Subdivision deposit, subdivisions 2 to 5 lots should read 1,340. So we'll cover these off properly. Right. Ash, sorry.
Emma, any other changes we need to be aware of in the draft long-term plan other than the addition of the auditor's opinion from the document you've seen at 103? Nothing else has changed in the last week or so?
No, nothing else has changed.
Hokitika area promotions rate, also known as destination Hokitika rate. I have tried searching several different things to see how long we are rating that for. We passed to add CPI inflation year on year on it. I can't see anywhere where it's pictured like other rates where it carries out over the 9-year life of the long-term plan. Can you direct me to a page I can find that? Or if it's not rated over the next 10 years, is it only 1 year, or is it 3 years, or what are we looking at doing there? For clarity.
I'm sorry, is that the financial question? That should be within the financial statements?
I can't find it for the life of me, but if someone could direct me to it, that would be great.
It looks like Leslie may be having a look for you on that.
I'm trying to help.
DH, the area promotion rate, where is that shown in the LTP across the 9-year life of the LTP? I can't find it anywhere. I've seen that we've got it on page 170 of the document, which explicitly says the 190 by 250 properties, which gives you the full amount. I can't see that anywhere.
170. Did you say?
170 of the document, yeah. Because my understanding was
there's only in this particular table, this is about the first year.
Yeah, does it being extrapolated out? Each of the other rates
Yeah.
have a page further down, but I can't seem to find
Yeah,
it.
we don't have it split for every single rate over every single year.
Okay. Does anybody, next question, does anybody have a clear understanding, are we rating the DH rate for the next 9 years of the long-term plan with CPI each year?
It was resolved that we would keep it in the plan, and that is what we have done.
And by keeping it in the plan, we've had it for 9 years as opposed to.
It's in for the plan for the whole term.
Thank you for that clarity.
Yeah.
The agenda item today around the roofing and flooring.
I removed the paper.
Yeah. So we not looking at making that saving.
Sorry, I withdrew the paper today because we need to do a little bit more work in terms of, you asked for the split of the financials for that. So, there needs to be a little bit more work to, I was going to say cemented in, but I'm very pancakes, so I'm sorry, to actually firm those up. So as soon as they're firmed up, I'll get you. But I couldn't do it today.
So how does that affect the long-term plan? Is it in there?
That isn't there. Page 128, it's currently.
It's in there.
It'll in there, it'll stay in there, but we won't draw the funding down, so we won't spend it if there is a decision pending that going that way and how much it is. But it sticks in there now and it adds another 1.5% and keeps us
Yeah.
above that 7% threshold for next year.
We could received roof out, cost out.
I found that you finished
Yeah, it's
doing
messy.
it, you're going to make, it will be difficult for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant, they come.
Because everything is within Tom, and it does, everything dominoes effects across, and once you touch one, you get a problem.
It's a shame, but I understand that.
We've talked about, looking at the insulation costs. for
Oh, yes,
this
yes, I've
going forward.
got a paper for that for you, folks. Yep. Insul.
Mix.
Yeah, so if we accept what they're saying and we want to change it, will we,
I would suggest with the information that comes back, that it would be very unlikely. But if it did change, I'm not sure how you would change it in terms of that. I doubt whether you would in the LTP.
And what the cost is. Could be an amendment, technically, but I doubt it. You would just do it. Just change. You would just do it in an admin plan.
Right, so as far as the long-term plan adoption goes, has anybody got any further questions? Points of clarification? Is everybody happy with the amendments that we've touched on? We will read them out before we finalise. So is everybody ready to progress this to?
You need me to actually speak to why we've gone up from 12.9 to 13.
Yes, sorry, yes, because I've got that, yes,
Yeah.
yes, please, Leslie.
Yeah, so we went to consult at 12.9, however, we have had to make some amendments because of timing, again. And it's now coming out at 13.2, and the drivers around that are the change in timing of the museum opening, which means that we're now opening in this current year, which means that we now start depreciating for next year. When we originally started this LTP, we weren't going to be opening the museum till next year. Therefore, we wouldn't have started it because we always start depreciating the following year and funding for that. So having brought that forward, that has actually created a cost in the next year. And also we've got on the CE's approval, we've added a 20,000 grant to Westbury, and that's for youth, a youth grant.
We've done previously, and I don't believe it would be appropriate to actually put it there.
So it's all been agreed around the table. I don't know, I don't know.
At some point, the council must have agreed it because it was done by previous management, it wasn't done by me.
so it was, they're saying it was approved as an ongoing thing.
Look, I'd have to go back and have a look at the pages that but it was, but I'm happy to do it.
That would have entailed a debate.
I'd like to see that investigated.
It was a 3-year agreement that was signed by the previous chief executive, and it commits us until 2027. Which is
And nobody can remember that coming back to the table.
No.
So how long ago was that done?
The start of 2024, I believe it was signed.
Last year?
I believe so. Yeah.
Can you recall
Would
that?
you like me to bring
Got
that
over there?
And so much training.
It wasn't put in the original LTP,
Well, I don't know anyone.
nobody budgeted for it, so.
It's in the triennium.
Well, can we please have an investigation into that and find out how, why, who and some
that's
details
fine.
about that
The
to come
staff
next
have
month.
changed as well, haven't they? The CV's changed quite recently as well.
So being that that's a commitment, the same Marcus, that was done last year, so that's already being paid out to them year on year.
It's just that we had to, because it's signed and it was agreed that it would be done for 3 years, over a 3-year financial period.
And that's also some of your variance in this current year because it wasn't budgeted and yet had been paid.
I think I remember that.
What was it for?
Westbury Cactus Youth Program.
Oh, the cactus youth.
Yep.
It's not even going.
Yeah.
It's not even going.
No.
Gonna say
A youth program, youth mentoring program that they run.
Francois, do you remember anything about this?
I'm sorry, but that concerns me, Marcus, because if it was originally set up to go to the Cactus Foundation and that's no longer in operation, then if there's a change in what that money's going to, that should have come back to us, and they should have actually brought that back to us to say, look, we no longer have this to run. Are you happy if this money now gets used for this variation to the youth group? It's not theirs to just put in wherever they go. So can we get some information on that, please?
Yeah, I mean, it talks about Cactus program, but then it also talks about youth mentoring and a youth program. So it's,
So it's possible.
But it doesn't matter, the Cactus program is no longer in existence, it's gone. So we need to know what that is, so that needs to be looked into.
Can I suggest, there will be genuine youth programs happening.
Yes, but we need to know that, we need to know that, it's not their right just to roll that funding over.
What the wording was.
yeah, sure.
I'm sure it's very noble, but,
Yeah, there's a
but
thousand one other
this
programs.
this was at a time when we were pinching pennies over the Regent Theatre, for goodness
Yes.
sake.
Yep.
Why would we have committed to 2027, 20 grand a year for Westbury?
So the issue stands that you've currently got it within the LTP, 20,000.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that rather than try and disrupt the flow of the LTP now, because you're not just going to be able to whip it out.
So sorry, how long's it been in the draft LTP? Right from the start?
No, because they really, I don't believe.
It wasn't in the original draft LTP, nobody budgeted for it. But then it's been brought forward in the last couple of weeks.
So we just need to get the payments.
I'm quite, sorry, I'm concerned that we're only being alerted to this now, and it doesn't sit well with me at all. You know, how many other unbudgeted expenditures are there? We don't know
This is,
about.
we
Someone
were asked
signed
to put it
away.
in, we were sent an email with approval from the CE to add it. So I can't answer anything else, but there's no other unbudgeted spend that I'm aware of that we wouldn't have put anything in that we weren't asked to, and that we've not got proof of.
So Val, where did you get the kids up that it needed to be in there from? Was it from council staff or from Westbury?
I thought my teacher had been signed for the 3 years.
For 3 years, I struggle with that because we had the Regent Theatre and everybody else saying, could we have the funding for 3-year periods? And we said, no, it's on a year-by-year basis at that stage. So I'm a bit puzzled as to why we would have agreed to a 3-year term for Westbury.
Well, because we haven't, no one's got recollection around the table, that's the
Well,
challenge.
there is an email trail from Simon around this from the 16th of April.
An email from who to who?
Well, I'm not going to go into the detail of it, I'll bring it all together as a package, and then you can see it all.
But don't you need to know now? Okay,
Yeah,
we
I
need to
think-
approve the LTP with all of that.
Well, so what would you suggest you would do?
You can't have Jane because it's already been paid.
Yeah.
But not, not for the next 2 years.
Well, we've got a signed agreement though, so how do we connect from there?
Yeah, so we need to do some homework on it because if they're being paid, we need quantification on that program, its existence and where that money's being used. And we need to then look at also if that program's not in existence and that money's there, it needs to be transferred back to council and reapplied for under the clear and transparent terms before you don't want to fund now. So, yeah. So it'll have to stand as it is, but that needs to be cleaned up, yeah. Right.
And also, as part of this 12.9, 3.2, we drew down our debt at the end of, or at the beginning of June, sorry, for the project expenditure during the year. And there's a difference in the factors that we originally budgeted for the for the interest rates to what we've actually got it at. So we've had to add that in. So that's the difference between the two figures.
Yes, Ash.
The couple of items we resolved to keep in based on loan funding, Jackson's Bay Wharf and the alternative route to Ross. When do we expect any update on that? Is it a
On the
days, weeks,
Jackson
months?
Bay Wharf.
Yes.
We've got to have papers in Wellington again by tomorrow with some changes to Jackson's Bay. And then I'm thinking that we would know, what would your thoughts be, in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, definitely by the end of July, we will know where that sits. Alternative route for Ross. Alternative route for Ross. That's to do with the bridge. Oh, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, definitely, we will know 2 weeks, yes. And that's a definite. That's a definite, it's locked in. Yeah.
And just to be clear that that loan funding, it isn't impacting any rates. So if we do get the external funding, that will just kind of go away and it will just affect the balances and your interest in a positive way.
Right. So with that, is everybody ready to move on the resolution? Okay, so the resolution is that the report be received with the following amendments. Amendment 1 is page 39, venue hire, that the Carnegie Gallery hire figure is changed from $1,000 to $100 per week. Amendment 2 is is page 41, is the cemetery charges, that the Muslim burials wording is changed from base cost for new grave plus additional costs incurred. And Amendment 3 is page 44, subdivision deposit. Subdivisions 2 to 5 lots is $1,340, removing the additional zero that was on that print. So with those 3 amendments, we're asking that the report be received, that the council adopts the revenue and financing policy as part of the long-term plan, and the council adopts the Western District Council long-term plan 2025 to 2034 and directs that it be made available to the public. I have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Nero, Councillor Neal. All in favour?
I'll make comment, please.
It's been moved.
Yes. We ought to have a right to comment on it. What the
We have
setting
been.
rates,
Eh?
the setting that's in setting.
No, we've done that at this stage is resolved to adopt the long-term plan. Now we're going to go on to the rates resolution.
Okay, it's the same.
Yes, they are, but are you happy that we just close off on that, adopting the long-term plan before we start on that?
Okay, close it.
Thank you. So all in favour on that? Against? Carried, thank you. I know it's very, very hard, everybody. I'm well aware that the faces around the table say it all. Right, next on the agenda, final.
And thank you to Emma for.
Thank you, Emma. Oops, no, we've got Francois there now. Thanks, Francois.
Thank you.
Thanks, Emma. The rates resolution. Leslie, handing back to you, please. I know you've just told us, advised us on the rates, the setting of the rates. Have you got anything else to add to that?
Nothing really, except that this obviously comes straight out of the LTP, so these factors are driven by the LTP. We will strike, if you adopt it, we will strike the rates based on these factors. Now, there will still be changes to the rating information database that will happen and occur right up to the end of the 30th of June. So that will technically have some impact on what those rates are individually charged and the money that we receive. So what we have here is balances, so revenue that we'll receive, may be different, but that's due to the changes in the rating information database. But people's rates will be struck with these factors. So if we get more rating units, say we've got an extra few rating units, obviously that's going to be diluted. Yeah, it won't happen that way, not at this stage. Generally, developers wait till the 1st of July and then they have a whole 3 year of rate.
Can we cancel?
No.
So, for clarity, usually, what you're saying is when titles are issued, per se, at the racecourse, when 36 titles come up, whether they're issued by council, people won't be paying rates until the start of next year. So
That's right.
Yeah, maybe 6 months, maybe 9 months.
Yeah.
Have we got any levers we can pull to change that, or that's purely a rate of?
That is, in the Local Government Rating Act, it's absolutely clear. Changes made to the database occur from the 1st of July the following year.
Through your worship, we had the same with the white total items.
Yeah.
But moving on to leases to occupy, licenses to occupy, I think, and so therefore now rateable. That doesn't happen until after the 1st of July, so therefore we get a 3 year.
Yeah.
Putting more costs on all the other ratepayers.
Well, with respect to Councillor Neil, we've had 50 years of squatting on that reserve. So the owners have had nothing of that reserve, and so we're now bringing it. You know, this is unrelated. I'm just saying it's free.
It's the same with the change of land use when we're picking up these Airbnbs. You can't do it immediately.
No. Right, so, yes, Paul?
What I did want to say, Worship,
Yes.
was that the general from me is that last year was 18-19%, and I remember it distinctly that we promised that the next year, this year, was going to be far less pain. And because that was all the pain was out of the way last year with the 18-19%, here we are with 13.2%. I've said it before, but if our starting point is always going to be the status quo, then we're doomed to be stuck on that hamster wheel. And you look at a boiler is 6.5% or something. They've genuinely cut their cloth and they cut out things. Don't know what grade is, no clue. But and then you've got the New Zealand Taxpayers Union, which is calling for a rating cap linked to the CPI. There's merit in it, in my view. But for now, we're stuck because we are on the hamster wheel. And so next year we'll be back again. And
we have to bring it down further.
well, it's no bring it down, but it's the same. If the starting point is always the status quo, then you can only go up. You can't go backwards. You can't go anything further. You can only go up. And that's the whole problem of the rating system in New Zealand is, as they say, it's broken. And that's what we're stuck with. Was we made a conscious decision that we're not going to start from the status quo. We're truly going to cut the cloth, soup, and start cutting to keep within a cap.
I will say one thing on the back of that, Paul, and I hear what you're saying, is that I think Greymouth's average rate rises to about 18.67%, going up to about 24. But I think what we should take some heart in is that it's election year and we have not let that influence us to take the rates down to 5, 6, 7%, to then hit the ratepayers with a 28, 29% rate rise next year. We have, I think, done ourselves, I'm not proud of where the rates are, don't get that wrong, but we have not let the election year influence us, as Les Morgan showed us some time ago, that every 3 years, wonderfully, the rates have gone down to a palpable 7%, 8%. We have not done that. We're not looking at crippling everybody next year. Next year, we don't, it's not next year, we start again tomorrow, basically, on looking at next year's costs and how we can bring that down further while managing the capital projects of wastewater treatment plants and the expectations that go with it.
But your worship, yes, of course, we would be silly to artificially lower the rates. There's no long-term gain in that whatsoever. You pay in the end. But we did promise last year that last year was the year of pain. Next year will be so much better and will be so much more reasonable and so much more affordable and we're on the house.
Through the chair, I think this is the ideal opportunity though, and you have already expressed that through the LTP process, that you're going to look at every service and every activity. So doing your section 17A and making a start on those, this is the right time to do that and look at those services. So that's the only way you can look to reduce the rates, is to actually really critically review all the services under section 17A.
Right, so we can go back to the rates resolution because we were in the throes of moving and seconding that. For the rates resolution, move a seconder please for the report to be received that Council got all the rates described and quantified in the rates resolution 2025 to 26. Council instructs the Chief Executive to strike the rates for the year ended 30 June 2026 in accordance with the long-term plan 2025/2026. Can I have a move?
34, 20, long-term plan 2025-2034.
Should be two, shouldn't it? Not 2026, 20.
Apologies for that.
Okay. So can I have a move for a seconder, please? Councillor Burden, thank you very much. Anybody else wanting to second that? Councillor Kaysen, thank you very much. All in favour? I think we're all reluctantly to be in favour, but that is it.
Against.
Okay.
I'll be voting against.
You've
What?
already-
How can you do that?
Because I can.
After all you all said today, we sat here and listened to you all day and now you put your hand against
It's
it.
enough.
It's just rates creep. We need to start,
Yes.
as Paul said, and I'm indicating where my direction is. This is the start. We need to look at cutting our cloth.
Yes, yes, we do.
That section 17.
17A.
17A, that's where you
Yeah.
start.
Yep.
But I think we need to, not lose sight of this now. We need to start work on it now.
Yeah.
Because we can't get to another annual plan or long-term plan and just saying, oh, we wish we'd got to, it's like eyesight and all those things. We could have.
And also starting looking at that, so many short few months out from it, we need to start that earlier. Because that's where it is, isn't it? It becomes a pressure of time to make calls. So if there's nothing further,
Can I just say something? As far as the long-term plan's concerned, I'd like to thank LTP and really all the staff in council. The LTP wouldn't happen if it wasn't for all the staff working together, and it's testament to how well we all work together. And please to have that minuted.
Thanks,
Thank you.
thank you. So with that, I will declare the meeting closed at 4:20. Thank you, Francois, for your Paul's just offered a word for you. He said patience. And thank you everybody for your attendance today and to the public. Yes.